I now introduce you to our moderator, Ms. Katrina Smith. She's the weekend and morning news anchor for WKTV.
Good evening, everyone. I, too, welcome you to the debate for the mayoral candidates here in Rome. A couple of ground rules I want to go over really quick is cell phones should be turned off as a matter of courtesy. Any unauthorized video or audio that are not allowed, as the FCC requires that a debate must not be edited and must be broadcast in its entirety, either live or reasonably soon after it takes place. So this debate is being live streamed as well and is available on the Rome Capitals Facebook page. Should also be available for viewing at the Utica Rome League's website, and that website is lwvuticarome.org. You can see that on YouTube and the Facebook page starting on Thursday if you would like a recap of everything that happened tonight. So, without further ado, I will introduce our candidates, the incumbent, the Honorable Jacqueline M. Izzo, Mayor of Rome, and her challenger is Mr. Jeffrey Lanigan, also of Rome. And we do have a brief bio of each of the candidates that I would just like to read to you to give you some background. Mayor Jackie Izzo is the first female elected mayor for the city of Rome and the first of a major city in the county. Mayor Izzo has been very successful in moving Rome forward with economic development initiatives, increasing employment opportunities in the city, revitalizing downtown, and leading the new development of affordable and market rate apartments, new single family housing. She's also been very successful in bringing grant funding to Rome for new businesses like the Orgill Distribution Center, major infrastructure improvements to the water and wastewater systems, as well as bridges, and presented balanced budgets requiring no property tax hikes for 7 straight years. Mr. Lanigan was born in Rome, graduated from Rome Free Academy, married to his wife Melissa for 14 years here, and together they have a 5-year-old son, Connor, who attends Rome public schools. He's a retired detective, so you may know him from there, from Rome Police Department, and also served as president of the 76-member Philip S. McDonald Police Benevolent Association from 2018 to 2022. 2019, he was awarded the New York State Senate Liberty Medal by New York State Senator Joseph Griffo. So, round of applause for the candidates for being here tonight for all of us and participating in this debate. Each participating candidate is going to get 2 minutes for an opening statement. And then after that, each candidate will have 90 seconds to answer questions, followed by a 30-second additional response time if needed. A 1-minute closing statement will then follow, and additional time response if needed. And of course, the timekeepers, as you heard, will be holding up those cards. Yellow means 30 seconds, and red means stop. Strict adherence to this timing is essential. So, our panelists may also interrupt, as you heard the candidates, if they believe they're straying from the subject. We are going to do a coin toss to see who is going to go first. Good, no one took my quarter. I was worried. All right, Ms. Izzo, do you mind calling heads or tails?
Tails.
It's hard to see with the light.
The light's a little blinding up here, but it is tails. So, incumbent Mayor Jackie Izzo will go first.
Are you going to reverse the order at the end?
I believe we will.
I would rather go second.
You would rather go second?
Yes.
Okay. Follow the rules.
Well, you usually get the pick.
Okay. All right. My notes here say that the candidate that wins the coin toss goes first.
That's fine.
That's okay?
That's fine.
All right. And to keep things moving along tonight, at the end of each question and answer, we will hold the applause. So, are we ready, panelists? Okay.
Opening statement.
Yes. Absolutely. Ms. Izzo, go ahead with the opening statement.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you to the League and the NAACP for hosting this event, and thank you for all of you for coming out tonight. I was born in Rome, lifelong Roman, on the 200 block of Casus Street, and then we moved to the 400 block of North Madison Street. So I spent most of my youth in West Rome. I was at Gansevoort School for kindergarten, and then I went to St. Mary's School for 1st through 8th grades, and then on to Rome Catholic High School, where I graduated in 1979. I also had a myriad of jobs in that time. I had a paper route. I also had my first job at McDonald's, which was always a great experience. And then I went on to Utica College of Syracuse University, where I also was accepted into the internship program at the Rome Lab so that I could help pay my way through college. I graduated from Utica College of Syracuse University with a Bachelor of Science degree in Public Relations Journalism with a minor in marketing. From there, I did some internships in the city planning office, and then I also worked in the food stamp unit for the county before I was able to procure my first real job as a staff assistant at the Rome Area Chamber of Commerce. And while I was in that job, I became a founding member of the Honor America Days celebration, and I am still doing that 40 years later, and now serve as the chair. From there, I became the director of tourism and Erie Canal Village for the city of Rome, managed a motel, and then I opened my own business. And then in 2015, which became very successful, and then in 2015, I stepped out to run for mayor, and the rest is history. I think it's very rare for someone to run for mayor on 3 pillars of economic development, jobs, and housing, and be able to sit here 8 years later and say that we delivered on all of them and continue to deliver for you every day.
Okay, and Mr. Lanigan.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much to the League and NAACP for having us here this evening, putting this debate together. I'm sure it wasn't easy. Thank you, everybody in attendance tonight, for being here and listening to us and coming to hear what we have to bring to the city. It truly is appreciated. As Katrina stated, Jeffrey Lanigan, born and raised in Rome, New York. I had the fortunate pleasure to serve for the Rome Police Department, one of the finest departments in the state, if not the country. I served my last 6.5 years as a detective with the department, mostly handling major case stuff, homicides, bank robberies, major assaults, things of that nature. Along that, I also, my final almost 4 years there, I served as the president of the Philip S. McDonald Police Benevolent Association, where I represented the 76 members of the Rome Police Department. Normally, I write an opening statement so that I can remember everything that I want to get out there. I don't have that tonight, so which is a little bit better because I like to speak from my heart, and this is definitely from my heart. This is something that, heart is definitely something that we're missing with this community. We need somebody who cares, somebody who's compassionate, and cares about everybody within this community, not just certain parts. We need somebody that's going to stand up for everyone and protect us and have the best interests of our whole community. And that's me. They talk about there's sheeps in this world, there's wolves in this world, and there's sheepdogs. I've always been a sheepdog. I've always put everybody else ahead of myself. I've always looked out for everybody else's best interest and said, let me be the first one through the door. Let me be the one you can rely on. And that's what I want to be for this community. And that's what I've always been. I've always been the one that you've called in your worst times. I want to be the one now that you call in your best times, to say thank you for what you've done for our community. Thank you for what you've done for our entire community. So please, please consider me for voting on November 7th. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lanigan. And now I'd like to introduce the two panelists, Ms. Kristen Skobla, President and CEO of Rome Area Chamber of Commerce, and Mr. Ed Harris, Mohawk Valley Finger Lakes Region Local Editor for USA Today. They will be posing questions to the candidates.
Good evening. Today, our business community still feels the effects of the 2020 pandemic. Businesses across various industry sectors continue to struggle with recruiting and retaining employees, which is detrimental to output and overall ability to sustain operations. What actions would you take to continue to help employers in addressing labor shortages?
Mr. Lanigan, you can go first.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Of course,
I thought she was going first.
no problem.
I
Today,
apologize.
our business community still feels the effects of the 2020 pandemic. Businesses across various industry sectors continue to struggle with recruiting and retaining employees, which is detrimental to output and overall ability to sustain operations. What actions would you take to help employers in addressing labor shortages?
So what we need to do is we need to build a community that people want to come to. People want to come here. They want to raise their families. They want to sink their roots into here. The Griffiths Business Institute Park has been incredible for our economy here as far as building great jobs. Six-figure jobs, that's great. But what we need to do is build a community around that people want to come to and live in. Not everybody wants to commute an hour, hour and a half to work every day. So if they're looking at jobs in Syracuse, maybe they're looking at communities to live in around there. Maybe they don't want to work at Griffiths because they don't feel comfortable living here for whatever reason. We need to, as an administration, as a community, build it so that people want to come here, they want to raise their families here, they want to sink their roots in this community. And there's three staples for that: education, public safety, and things for people to do. We need to work on all three of those together, collaboratively with the school district, with the administration, to bring those people here and get them to put their roots here, raise their family here, and that's going to help build our employment base so people will come here and the people will have more opportunities for jobs within here. Thank you.
You're talking about what are we doing now to help our employers. So what I do on a daily basis, and I did during the pandemic, because it's essential that I stay in touch with the Chamber of Commerce, a Mohawk Valley Edge, our schools, our colleges. And what we are doing is building a pipeline of employees that we are recruiting to businesses. We are also working with the school district. We are bringing school children in as early as 7th grade into a lot of our factories, into our high-tech businesses, to show them what opportunities are available here and where they can have a career. But in the near term, the problem that we have is not only here in Rome, it's across the country, recruitment of employees, and how do you keep them? So even in the city, we've had to do different things with our contracts to try to incentivize our employees. And with the rise of the minimum wage, we're finding that wages are affected not only at the bottom, but the middle and the top. So it takes a lot to recruit an employee. You have to offer a good salary structure, benefits, and then you have to hope that you can retain them. And in some industries, we're having trouble with that. So we're still working with all of our community partners to try to help them with business recruiting, but it's not easy. And we're going to keep doing that. We'll have more strategies as we move on in the next few years.
Mom and pop stores help build and define a community. What would your administration do to help those already in business or entice others to open a business here in Rome?
So we work on that every day. I am a small business owner, and I have been through the rigors of trying to establish a business. I think the first thing you have to understand when you go into business is there is no one there to help you. You are putting your capital on the line. You might have the title of president, but you're also the janitor. Some of the things that we do in the community to help our small businesses, we get them together through the Chamber of Commerce. We listen to their concerns. Down here, downtown, we're fortunate we had a business development fund so that we were able to help some of these businesses with grants. And we have recruited actually 6 new businesses down here. Some of them you see along this corridor. When there's money available, that's one of the things that we can do. However, the city does not have money all the time. So with the ARPA, or with the Downtown Revitalization Initiative, we were able to do that. The other thing that we can do, and we work with Mohawk Valley Edge on this, is we have loan programs and grant programs, and we also work with state agencies for some of our businesses, smaller ones, to get them the grant or the low interest loan that might help them buy a piece of equipment or fund a salary through Working Solutions. There are 50% salary incentives there with the federal government so that they will subsidize 50% of a new employee's salary for a certain period of time, and that takes the burden from the employer.
This is one of my staples of my campaign is doing more for the small businesses in our community. Rome was built on small businesses, and it doesn't seem that we've done enough for them. They're some of the biggest people that were affected by COVID. The big corporate stores were allowed to remain open while our small mom and pop shops were being closed by the government. And it doesn't seem that they were ever given the handout to help them after that. And we need to work together as a community to help them grow, to help them sustain their business so it stays here, so we see less empty buildings within this community. It's great, the new businesses going up on the business park, but we cannot forget about our small businesses within our inner city. My administration will have somebody that's designated at City Hall for small business that's going to work collaboratively with the chamber. When these people have questions, they're going to have somebody that they can come speak to at City Hall to say, what can we do to find some assistance? What can we do if we want to expand? And they're going to be there to assist them with that. And they're going to work with other organizations to make those things happen so that we can continue to grow our small business within our community and fill some of these vacant stores and buildings that plague our inner city.
I would like to rebut.
Okay. A rebuttal from Ms. Izzo.
I want to clear something up. During COVID, small businesses, because I know this because I have a small business, PPP money was available, and many small businesses took advantage of that. That kept them floating because the government closed them. There was also a grant program, which they started out as a loan, which you were given $5,000 or $10,000. That was also money that was never repaid to the government. And to think that we are not doing anything to help small business is not correct. Our Community and Economic Development Department, we do have people that help small businesses, and we do work in collaboration with Mohawk Valley Edge, as I said earlier, to find resources for those businesses. But it is not in the city's purview to fund anyone's individual business. I wish it were. I could have used the funding.
Okay, thank you very much. Move on to the next question.
Great.
Okay, go ahead.
Staying on this topic, the state of New York believes that increasing the utilization of minority, women, and service-disabled, veteran-owned businesses is an important element of the state's contribution to the growth of our economy and community. What steps would your administration take to specifically support the creation of more minority, women, and service-disabled, veteran-owned businesses in the Rome area, especially so that the city utilizes and engages in contracts with those businesses?
That would be something essential to my administration. We would love to see more minority, more veteran-owned businesses within our community. I think that is a great attribute. A lot of people, especially that come out of the military, they look for something. They look for a group. You're leaving a team and being put out there on your own. And a lot of these people look for businesses to start up so that they have something new to grab a hold of and that they can run with. My administration would do everything in our power to make those initiatives happen where they can get help and funding to get those businesses up and running so we can get them within our community. Because not only does that put things into our community that we can utilize, but it also helps build those relationships where other people coming in can see that and see that we're a community with open arms that are going to help you in any way that possibly we can. So that is definitely something that we will put on the front burner to utilize and help them get those businesses up and running.
As a regular course of business, 30% of any of our New York State funded contracts must include an MWBE component. So we are working with minority women-owned businesses every day of the week. They are part of all of our contracts. We have identified them not only in our own area, but throughout the state so that they can participate in certain aspects of the contract so we can meet the 30% requirement. Strategic Global Aviation, right here in our own community, was a veteran-owned business. It was started by a number of veterans from across several of the services. I was very involved with them in their startup and trying to engage them with other military officials throughout the country as they tried to ramp up aircraft maintenance. Those gentlemen have since sold the business to another investor, but they made a great, valiant effort at it. They were able to secure a couple of contracts. So one of the things that is imperative with the mayor is always being in touch with people. And if they come to you, trying to find a way to engage them with other businesses, so business-to-business relationships. But it is incumbent upon us in each and every contract that we already have to find those minority women-owned businesses, and we have a list of many of them. We work with them daily.
Is there a rebuttal?
No.
Okay, we will move along to the next question. Go ahead.
There's been an abundance of housing units being built throughout the city over the last couple years. Some because of regional developments such as Nexus or Wolfspeed. How could you get people to want to move to Rome regardless if they work in Rome or they commute to an outside community? What would you do to entice them to live here?
Actually, those units are not being built because of Wolfspeed or Danfoss. They're being built because when we took office, 70% of the people that worked on the Griffiths Park did not live in Rome. Some of them didn't even live in the county. So the units that we built are being built by developers are because we wanted to attract those people back into our community. To this day, we are attracting people from outside of Rome now to live here. I met 3 people last week from the city that were working in Utica that live at Air City Lofts. So the goal was for us, when we engaged the human resources people up at the Griffiths Park and the Junior Officers Council, was to find out why weren't you living in Rome? And what we found out was we don't have the type of housing that they were looking for, namely market rate apartments. Now we've moved on to affordable apartments as well, because we have to try to service our middle income people. So this is really about workforce housing and making sure that people that work in Rome live in Rome. And then we're creating an environment where Rome has a different feeling to it, and people from around our community now are moving in. We're also finding people that were living in the towns and villages around us that wanted to live in the city, and they like the housing options better. The single family housing will take a little longer to come on, but we're moving on that front as well.
I think the housing up on the base is great. It was a great addition for those people that are working on the base. A lot of the new generation coming up. When I first got out into the workforce, I couldn't wait to buy my first house, get my first yard to mow. I think those priorities have changed now, and that younger generation is looking for that kind of apartment lifestyle. But we can't just focus on that. We need to focus on bringing in middle-class housing and bring people into our inner city. Because the problem with living up on 825 is it's easy to jump onto 825, get onto 49, and go to New Hartford and do your entertainment there and do your shopping there and not come into our city and not spend money at our small businesses that are within our inner city. We need to put an emphasis on building back our neighborhoods and bringing housing back into our inner city and draw these people in so that they're here with us and they're spending their money here and we're not losing them out to other communities where they're going for their entertainment. We need to have things for them to do here. We need to have things, we need to do more for the kids and bring back our sports programs and bring everything back within our city so that they want to be here. They want to raise their families here. And that's what's going to bring people into our community to live here.
Is there a rebuttal?
Yes. So townhouses are being built on Merrick Road now. We're introducing townhouses into the inventory as well. That's because some of the families would like to live in a townhouse setting rather than a single family home. And we just announced earlier this summer, Copper Village, a $105 million affordable housing project on the waterfront in South Rome, which will target disabled veterans, elderly, and the workforce in the middle income. So right now, we here in Rome are building housing for all sectors of our residents.
Thank you very much.
Do I get a rebuttal to the rebuttal? How does that work?
It's not in my rule book here. I'm gonna refer to Ms. McBride.
$300,000
There is not a rebuttal to the rebuttal. I'm sorry.
Very good.
I didn't make the rules. I just play with them, right?
Gotcha.
Okay, we're going to go to the next question. Panelists, go ahead.
All right, staying a little bit on this topic, an important factor that many homebuyers take into consideration when purchasing is a high-performing school district. Although Rome has many talented educators and volunteers, it is currently graded a bit lower than some surrounding districts, possibly deterring some potential homebuyers from purchasing in Rome. What actions can the administration take to support and assist the school districts in improving its grade?
Staying on track, right? Ms. Izzo started the last one, correct? And then did a rebuttal. So Mr. Lanigan will begin on this question. Go ahead,
Can we get
Mr.
a
Lanigan, with your
token we
answer.
pass between the two of us? Or
Would you like
No,
my
I'm
quarter?
just kidding.
Mr. Lanigan, you have the question
All
and
right.
the floor.
Obviously, as I said earlier, that education is one of the three staples when people are looking to move to your community. We do need to have a working relationship with the school district, and the city needs to partner with them and see what we can do to raise our education standard within the school district. I think they do a great job. My son goes to Rome Public Schools. They do an incredible job, and I don't have the answer of what the issues are within the school district, but I assure you and I promise you that our administration will do everything in our power to work with them. And if there is anything that we can do to help with that, we're going to do it, because that's key. When people are looking to move here, that's one of the very first things they look at, along with if you have a safe community or not. So we really need to do more on that side. And I know they have a new superintendent, a temporary one now, but to be able to kickstart with either the temporary one or a new superintendent at the beginning of the year, and work hand in hand and say, what can we do as a city administration to assist you along that process to increase those scores?
As you all know, the school district is not controlled by the mayor or the city government, so we have to respect that boundary. But I have always had a close working relationship with the school superintendent, Peter Blake, who just moved on. And the other day, we met with the interim superintendent. Many of the discussions that Peter and I had were about scores and how we felt, what it looked like to somebody that's coming into the community. We have to remember we are a small city school district. There aren't many in the state. There are different things that go into the statistics. We have student scores. So what it looks like is Utica and Rome don't score well because our districts are so large and everyone around us is a little bit smaller. But, it's a perception more than anything. So we have great teachers, great staff, and we have many, many really great students. And we have so many programs, even for the things they do for students that might be challenged are great in our school district. So I think that we have to keep doing what we're doing. We have to keep working with them. And the Chamber has two programs. One is the mentoring program, which is wonderful, and the other is the education committee. So I think all of us working together with the school district, we will make strides in what the perceptions are. But I know that the students that are coming out are awesome. And as I said the other day, we have the commissioner of baseball.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lanigan, is there a rebuttal?
No, thank you.
Okay, our panelists can go ahead with their next question.
Griffiths has been brought up a couple times already. It's undeniably a large part of Rome, and you could argue that it's a city within a city. How do you go about making sure you allocate enough to Griffiths, but still have more than enough for the rest of the city?
Well, the city doesn't really allocate anything to Griffiths. I think that's a misnomer. First of all, the land that Griffiths sits on is in the city of Rome. It always was. We loaned it to the federal government to build an Air Force base. We do already own many of the streets. We own the entire water and sewer system. And now we are reaping the benefits of property taxes for businesses that are coming off pilots, just like anyone else that establish a business in Rome. Their property is being taxed. Without the Griffiths Park, this entire region would not exist. Its economy would not exist as it does today. The park is now employing 6,000 people. It's paying over $3 million in property tax. And we should be happy that we are the host of that large business and technology park. The average salary at the park now has risen over $100,000. And it's a component of the city of Rome. So yes, you're going to hear about Griffiths a lot, and that's okay. It is functioning now better than it did as an Air Force base, and we have more options available there. We have diversified the business community there from high tech to advanced manufacturing, to healthcare, to finance, to unmanned aerial systems. The opportunities there are boundless, and we even have retail and healthcare there, as well as restaurants.
Okay. Shall we move along?
So we've heard all about Griffiths. Now I'm going to answer your question. We can't just focus solely on Griffiths. Griffiths is incredible. It's a great entity for our community. GLDC does an incredible job up there. Mohawk Valley Edge, Oneida County Economic Development, all partnered with the city of Rome. We doing a great job up there, and it's great to have it right in our backyard. But we cannot just focus on that. At the same time that things are going on up there, our inner city is falling apart, and our neighborhoods are crumbling. We're not doing enough for everybody else within the community. That's great to bring all these people in and entice them with six-figure jobs and entice them with $2,500 a month apartments. That's fantastic. But what about the people that live here? What about the people that have lived here for all these years, generation after generation?
We have to hold our applause.
Yeah.
We have to focus on that. We have to do more for our inner city. And that's what we need to do is work with the base, keep it growing, keep those partnerships strong like they have been over. Griffiths has been on the works for 30 years now. They've been developing that, and they've done an incredible job with this administration and the previous administration. We need to keep those partnerships growing along with putting a focus back onto our inner city.
Okay, thank you so much.
I'll rebut that.
Okay, go ahead.
That's insulting to me. Look around the city of Rome. There is not more money being spent at Griffiths than there is in Rome right now. We have millions of dollars of projects all over this city. We have millions of dollars in infrastructure projects happening everywhere. That is not a good characterization, and it's a mischaracterization of where we are. The very first housing project we did was in South Rome at the former DeWitt Clinton School.
Time.
We are doing Copper Village, which is next, and look at this downtown area. So to say that we're ignoring the rest of the
Time.
city,
I'm sorry. Okay, and we do have to hold our applause and move on to the next question with our panelists. Go ahead.
Childcare challenges are a barrier to work, especially for mothers who disproportionately take on unpaid caregiving responsibilities when their family cannot find or afford childcare. What actions would your administration take to spur the creation of additional childcare providers for their own community?
Mr. Lanigan.
Obviously, childcare is a huge thing for families. You see so many families nowadays that one or the other parent will actually leave a job to stay home and watch their kids because it's cheaper for them to leave that job and stay home than it is to pay for childcare. One of the things that we are going to bring back is the drop-in program for the Parks Department. That was around when I was a kid. It was a great thing for our working families to have, where for a minimal cost compared to some day camps, they could drop their kids off and have teenagers and college students that would watch them for the day, do activities with them. That is one thing that we will strive to 100% bring back this coming summer. Another thing is working with some of these. I just met recently with a woman who is trying to expand her child care program. She is having trouble finding a bigger location. The state puts limits on these child care programs to where it's only a certain amount of kids that they can have within an area and with the amount of help that they have. So we need to work with these small businesses to help them find bigger locations and to expand those programs so that our parents have more options out there so that they can continue their careers if that's what they'd like to do.
due to state regulations, it has taken us, all of us collectively, 2 years. But we are finally bringing a daycare to Air City very shortly. They just signed their lease. With the daycares, it's very difficult to get private bank financing because the staff to children ratios are so close together that sometimes the financial models don't work. There will be a daycare at Copper Village, and we are working with some other daycare providers to see if their financing will work. On the drop-in program, the drop-in program does not service disadvantaged youth. It is a pay-as-you-go program. It used to cost around $600. At today's wages, it'll be around $1,200. The biggest reason that we are not offering the drop-in program is what you alluded to earlier. We cannot find the help, the staff. I will not allow children to be in the care of anyone that is not an adult and force the city into a liability that it doesn't need. We would love to take care of children. However, we are under the same guidelines as some of these daycares. The staff to children ratio is tight. We just do not have the number of college students applying for these jobs anymore because they have so many opportunities to do an internship with their major in school.
Thank you very much. Rebuttal?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Lanigan.
We're not doing enough then. We need to be out there and we need to be working with these colleges to get students that want to do that. There is enough kids out there in college that are working on education degrees that I'm sure if given the opportunity to come back home and to do the work that they want to do for the rest of their life, with work with these kids with the parks. We did it for how many years before this program was eliminated? I don't even know when that program started, but I know when I was a kid it was there. So we need to do better as an administration to bring these people here to take those jobs.
Time. Thank you very much, Mr. Lanigan. Okay, panelists, let us know when you're on your final question as well. Go ahead.
Staying with children, some residents have come before the Common Council and said they don't think the city is doing enough for the city's youth. What is your take on that, and what, if anything, can the city do to be there for the youth, be it sports leagues or activities?
Ms. Izzo.
I think we are there for the youth. We have a great park system. We have youth leagues. This summer, we added Kennedy Arena as an indoor facility. We opened basketball leagues, and drop in open gym to youth and adults. We were busy there 7 days a week, and from 10 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock at night. We also introduced cornhole there, pickleball, and next year will be volleyball. All of our parks, we had programming for our kids. We had over 200 children take part this year, and we have been surveying kids to see what they want. The traditional sports have been offered, but really they're looking for different things. They want more things in the area of fitness, arts and crafts, hula hooping, things that we wouldn't think about that are different. So I think that there's a lot for our youth to do. We have carnivals. We have holiday events around every holiday. As a matter of fact, this Friday night is our trick-or-treat event, which will be at Franklin Field this year. You know, I was a basketball coach for almost 20 years. People forget that I have been involved with youth my entire life. And I think the city of Rome does a really great job with our youth, and we can do more, and we will do more. Our indoor playground facility is reopening at Pinty Field, I believe this week as well. So there's a lot of activities for people if they want to take advantage.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Lanigan.
Our youth sports programs need help. We have seen our baseball, we lost our Little League. That dwindled down. It used to be 3 parks that held Little League. We're now barely holding on to 3 teams in the city of Rome that play Little League. They need help. Our football needs help. Pop Warner, they reached out. They needed help with field maintenance. They were denied. The city needs to partner with these groups and do what they can for them, whether it's helping out with field maintenance, whether it's helping start up their organizations and run their league, help them run their league for their first year. We need to do more. We need to get these kids back into sports. Rome used to be a thriving sports town. Used to be proud to wear the orange and the black. And now you go to these games and they barely have enough kids on the field. I've coached since I came home from school. I've been involved with these kids right along. I still am now. I'm coaching now. We need to do more. We need to have a facility during the winter that these kids can go into. We need to bring a field house here. If these other smaller communities can house these and make them work, so can the city of Rome. It's great to have an indoor facility during the summer, but the kids want to be outside in that time. We need something for them to do in the winter. We need to have a turf facility that they can go to, a recreational center, that during those bad months, they can be inside doing activities, whether it's basketball leagues or it's flag football leagues, do something that's going to help bring up our sports programs again.
Mayor Izzo, do you have a rebuttal?
Yes.
Okay, hold your applause for Mayor Izzo's rebuttal.
That's exactly why we need the new YMCA to be built. It's $20 million. The YMCA will be a $20 million project, and that will bring outdoor facilities as well as indoor. The city of Rome cannot be everything to everyone. Where would the money for this fieldhouse facility come from? Where would the operating expenses be in our budget every single year thereafter? Your taxes would go up, period. We don't have that kind of revenue coming into Rome to do a multi-use facility. However, if a private sector person would like to come in, we're all open to that, because most of these facilities that are around our area are all owned by someone in the private sector, including the Nexus Center, which is run by an authority, not by the city of Utica. So I think the city of Rome does a tremendous job. We need to help and stay involved with getting the Y built, and eventually we will have the types of facility in the winter that you need.
Thank you, Mayor Izzo. Okay, hold the applause so we can keep it moving along. Panelists, another question.
Yes, Katrina, this is my last question.
Thank you.
In April 2024, Utica's Nexus Center is hosting the International Ice Hockey Federation Women's World Championship. The championships are slated to draw 60 to 70,000 fans to our area over the course of 12 days. What action would your administration take to help lure those fans to stay, shop, and visit Rome?
Go ahead, Mr. Lanigan.
We need to promote. We need to promote that event coming to our area. We need to get out there and have our city known to these people that are going to be coming here, whether it's the players, it's the families, or it's just the fans that are coming here. We need to do a better job promoting our city. I don't think we get us out there enough in the area or the region to say, hey, look what we have to bring to the table here in Rome. And I think when that event is coming, we need to get it out there that come to Rome, stay in Rome, here's our hotel facilities, but also put in there that here's our shops, here's our places, our restaurants that you can eat at, and have almost a whole area set off for them that they can come for the evening, the day, when they're not at the Nexus Center watching the games. We just need to promote it. We need to get us out there that we can compete with Utica and the things that they have there. They may be greater in mass with what they can bring there, but we are mighty here in Rome. So we need to put that out there and get them to come here and make sure it's well known that we can house them and we can have things for them to do here.
So what we are doing with the Nexus Center, I'm in contact with Rob Esch regularly. When the tournament comes, we will see what their needs are. There most likely will be overflow. We may keep our ice longer so that we can take some of the overflow teams for practice, and they will stay here in our hotels. They'll frequent our restaurants. We are partnering with them on a tournament that is emanating from Buffalo, where the Kennedy Arena will participate for a weekend. We will have teams here that will be using the arena for practices and games to take the overflow from Nexus. And that's what we have to continue to do. Kennedy Arena is a beautiful facility. We're going to have to open it up a little bit more when we have these regional events. The tournament there in 2024 is going to be huge. And so we will partner with them, and we have to keep talking to them. We're in constant contact with the Nexus Center and the management. That's how you're going to bring teams into Rome. We have a facility that can actually help those tournaments, and we plan to do that.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Lanigan, do you have a rebuttal?
I do. I'm currently a hockey coach, and I grew up playing hockey. I've been in talks with the Nexus Center, with the organizations over there, to bring more to Rome in the following years, to utilize that Kennedy Arena and bring some of those the games here, so that we have people here that can't get to the Nexus Center that would love to watch some hockey. And at that level, it's incredible to watch those. So those partnerships are great to have, and we need to bring them more here.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lanigan. All right, Ms. Goldblum, you asked your last question. Mr. Harris, do you have one more?
Yes, I did.
Okay, go ahead with your last question.
Some in the community have voiced concerns over what they consider an increase in crime in the city. What are your thoughts on the crime rate in the city, and what can you do to help ensure the community feels safe?
Unfortunately, there's an increase in crime across the entire state. And as we know, part of that is due to bail reform, where many of the felonies were downgraded to misdemeanors and appearance tickets, and also the raise the age law, where 16-year-olds, 17, 18, they are not taken to adult court anymore. In our own community here, what we are doing, the chief instituted the street crimes unit earlier this year. That unit is being successful in taking guns and drugs off the street. Our community impact unit works closely with our businesses and neighborhoods to do the same thing in our special response unit. We have to be very vigilant. We do directed patrols in certain neighborhoods where we're having issues. What we have just started doing is, if we have a property that especially is city-owned, where we find squatters, we move them out, we move their element out. We have been conducting raids in certain properties, in one in particular in South Rome, where we made a number of arrests, and then when the city took possession, we cleared it out, boarded it up, and we've already demolished it. So we're going to have to take steps like that, but when it's private property, our hands are really tied because of the laws in New York. So we're struggling with squatters in houses right now. But as far as a safe community, this community is very safe. And I'll also tell you, no crime goes uninvestigated, and we investigate until there's an arrest.
Time. Thank you, Ms. Izzo. Mr. Lanigan, go ahead.
Thank you. Crime absolutely is in the rise in New York. It's a very unfortunate thing. It's probably a major reason why a lot of people are moving out of New York, moving out of Oneida County moving out of Rome. It's a very sad state that we're in. But in Rome, crime has obviously been on the rise since 2015. We need to do more. We need to do more at the street level. And the street crimes unit was actually enacted in 2022, not this year. I was part of that with the union. I met with the chief counsel when he took over to bring that unit in. The problem I have with that is it hasn't been expanded since then. Those are two guys that work very hard every day and they do a great job at it. Imagine if we had 4, 6 guys doing that on every shift. It would be incredible. And some people don't like to hear the answer, but the best way to combat crime is to get more cops out there, prevent the crimes from even happening. I've said it before, we need to make it more uncomfortable for the criminals to live here than it is for me and you to live here. So what we need to do is we need to do more of that, more proactive policing, more specialized units. Bail reform is a judicial problem. The cops can still go out there, they can still make the arrest. The problem is when they're going in front of the judge, they're being released on appearance tickets. We need to do more proactive policing. We need to engage with the community. We need to bring back neighborhood watches, work with them. The best thing you can do in your neighborhood is be vigilant. Keep an eye out.
Time.
Watch your neighbor's house for them. Thank you.
Mayor Izzo, a rebuttal.
I'll rebut that. The chief has never come to me and said, I need more bodies. On the contrary, he has said we have the complement that we need. We need to make sure that we have the best equipment and the best training, and they have all of it. We also reworked their contract this year so that their salary structure is better, so that we can recruit better for that department. More bodies don't mean that we're going to prevent crime. We would have to be in the street or in the neighborhood at the same time the crime is occurring. However,
Okay, time's up. I'm sorry. And that concludes the panelist questions for the evening. As you walked in this evening to the Capitol, you were able to fill out a card with questions, members of the audience. And at this time, we will be asking the candidates those questions that were collected from the audience members, sorted out, of course, to ensure that there are not duplicates of any questions or anything that is off topic or not relevant to the office. So at this time, I will read the questions, and we are going to start with Mr. Lanigan, and I'll ask the question to each of you. Okay, the first question, this is from Craig Smith of Rome. Mr. Lanigan, do you think the mayor of Rome should live, pay taxes, and use the school system in Rome?
Who's that directed to?
That is to both of you, so go ahead and answer the question first.
The Rome City Charter states and election law states that the mayor needs to live in Rome upon selection. That could mean that on election night, or it could mean upon appointment, which would be in January. So yes, I feel that I am a law-abiding person, and I feel that the mayor should abide by that. I currently own a house in Rome since February of 2022 that I paid on and paid taxes on. You can ask my wife that. And we have just recently moved into that home. So, and my son has always attended Rome public schools. So I'm a strong believer in that the mayor should follow the rules which are set out there within the Rome Chamber and also in election law, which I have followed the entire time and made the promise that I would be here for Election Day, and I am here for Election Day.
Okay, hold the applause. Mayor Izzo, same question. Do you think the mayor of Rome should live, pay taxes, and use the school system in the city of Rome?
absolutely. I've done that my entire life. Not only do I live in the city of Rome as a resident, I also have commercial property here. And I also think it's a little disingenuous. You chose to move out of Rome.
Because
You chose to move out of the city.
Mr. Lanigan, hold the applause, please, everyone. Hold the applause and let Mayor Izzo finish answering the question.
You chose to move out of the city to the
applause.
lake. To the lake. Okay? That's your choice. But you're in the town of Western. And then you decide you want to be the mayor. You abandon our city. when you moved out. So then you came back.
Hold the comments and let the mayor answer the question.
Excuse me.
Hold the comments in the audience. I have the questions here.
Excuse me. Then you came back and decided you want to be the mayor, so you moved back into the city. That's not a commitment to Rome. That's a...
Hold the applause. Hold the comments. Hold the comments from the audience and let the mayor answer the question.
The mayor of the city of Rome should live in the city and should be living in the city before the person decides to run. And if I am successful in this campaign, I will be introducing a local law that says you must live in the city of Rome as a resident for 1 year before you announce your candidacy.
Okay, hold the applause. Okay. Thank you very much, Mayor Izzo. We'll ask you the next question first. Would you like a rebuttal, Mr. Lanigan? Okay, a quick rebuttal, Mr. Lanigan.
All right. I moved out of the city because I saw what was happening in this community, and it wasn't being built for families raising kids. And that's why I moved out of this city. We had an opportunity. I had no political intentions at that time. As soon as I was given this opportunity to run, that's when we made the decision to come back to this community. That's a sacrifice that my family has made to uproot our life and move back here for the people.
Thank you, Mr. Lanigan. Okay, let's move along to the next question. The next question, they did not provide the name, but the question is, and this is for Mayor Izzo first, what can be done about the homeless people in our city? How can we better protect the businesses from robbery and break-ins?
So you didn't believe enough in Rome to stay here and try to help the problem, but you decided to come back.
I'm going to need everyone in the audience to keep it down so that we can have a civilized debate on the stage from the candidates, because we need to give the candidates the time to talk.
As far as our homeless population is concerned, that is something that's on my radar. I've said it many times in many forums. We do have to tackle that problem as we move along now. Our administration is working at the moment with Connected Community Schools, the hospital, the rescue mission, the churches, and our police department. We used to know many of our homeless. Now we have more people coming into the community because of different reasons. They are not migrants, but they are homeless people that are coming from other areas of the county. So we are going to have to look at more shelters. And I want to emphasize also that this is a voluntary state. So the government has no recourse. If someone does not want to go inside, we cannot force them into a shelter. What we can do and what we do is we do not allow them to live on the street. We move them along. We try our best to get them inside, but we are going to need help from the state. The state has to take responsibility. We need more supervised homes, and we need more inpatient beds.
Thank you, Mayor Izzo. Mr. Lanigan, go ahead. The question again is, what can be done about the homeless people in our city? How can we better protect the businesses from robbery and break-ins?
So my opponent said I didn't stay to help the problem. So you admit there's a problem? Homeless is a very touchy subject.
Applause, please.
It's a very difficult issue, and it needs to be addressed from the top down. We need help from state, county. We all need to get together and come up with a solution to this. One thing we need to do locally here, though, is we need to do more for the ones that we do have here, because at the end of the day, it's not illegal to be homeless. There's still people, and they still need help. Last winter, there was a cold stretch. It wasn't a bad winter, but there was a cold stretch. And Utica came out at night and said they were going to open up the county office building as a warming room, and it was going to be there for the next couple of days. I said, oh, Rome will come out with something. And that night, nothing came out. Next morning, nothing came out. So that morning, I called over to a buddy of mine that runs a church. I said, if I contacted you as the mayor of the city, would you open up your basement rec room if I offered to give you 2 police officers that would stay there overnight as security? He said, absolutely. We'd love to. I reached out to somebody who does food. I said, would you provide food if I was to do this? He said, absolutely. I'll provide people to serve the food. That's what we need to do as a community. Come together and help these people at the local level. Well, waiting for the assistance that we need from the state, federal, and county levels to come up with a solution for this problem, because it is. It's a bigger problem than just me and my opponent sitting up here, and we need to have those partnerships and work together to help solve this issue.
Okay, thank you for staying in the time constraints. Okay, this one will go to Mr. Lanigan first. What management skills do you possess that make you qualified to manage over 350 employees and handle a $51 million budget? This is from Cynthia Daniello in Rome.
Obviously, I think sitting up here, just listening to our bios, you can hear that me and my opponent share different backgrounds. We both come from different things. But I think that's the reason why I was approached and asked to run for mayor. I think I bring something totally different to the table than my opponent does. She has a business background. That's great. The city doesn't need to be run like a business 24/7. You need to have that touch. You need to have that where people can come to you and they feel comfort in talking to you and voicing their problems and voicing their issues that they have within this community. As a police detective, that's what I did. I sat and talked with people. I helped them through their issues. Some people, I got them to tell me their most inner, deepest secrets, because that's what we need to do, is have that communication with people. The union, I ran a budget. I ran negotiations. I did those things. I'm also afforded great people that work at City Hall, department heads that have done this for years and have experience. The mayor doesn't do every single thing in City Hall. The mayor can rely on their department heads to help them along with the way. Is there going to be a learning curve? Absolutely. But 98% of those employees are going to stay there. Are some going to retire? I'm sure they're going to. But at the end of the day, you're going to have those people. And my ability to work as a team member is what puts me above and beyond anybody else.
Time. Thank you. All right, Mayor Rizzo, same question. What management skills do you possess that make you qualified to manage over 350 employees and handle a $51 million budget? From Cynthia Daniello.
Obviously, I have decades of experience managing budgets, managing people. That is the number one responsibility of the mayor, is to manage the operations of the city in a financially, a fiscally responsible way. And our administration has done that. It is a mischaracterization to think that the mayor is not involved directly in the budget, is not involved directly in the day-to-day operations of the city. That just does not happen with me. I would never present a budget that was crafted by someone else. That's your budget. You have to be able to sell it. I want to know where every penny is being spent and why it's being spent. We also have to watch the tax rate. Number one reason people leave is because if taxes are coming out of control. What are we doing to raise our sales tax? What are we doing to raise our revenue? And our employees, we have a terrific workforce, no question about it. And they need help, not just 8 hours a day, 24 hours a day. When that phone call comes and they need a decision made, I have to make it. It's not a committee decision, because it might be at 3 o'clock in the morning and there's no committee there to help me.
Thank you, Mayor Izzo. Mr. Lanigan, do you have a rebuttal on this one?
No.
Okay. We'll move on to the next question. What do you feel is the number one issue facing the citizens of the city of Rome? This one comes from the 7th Ward.
We have many issues here in Rome, but I think that one issue that's on everyone's mind, I don't care if you live in Rome or you live somewhere else in the state, it's am I going to be safe in my community? And every day that we wake up, that's the first thing that I do is check in with the public safety commissioner and both chiefs to see if anything happened overnight that we should know about. Did we have a fire? Did we have anything where people were displaced? Was there a shooting? Anything that's going on in our city, you have to feel safe and secure in your community. That's the number one issue, because if we don't have safe, secure neighborhoods, we won't be able to have citizens that feel good about their community. And once you do that, your community starts to grow. So I think public safety has to be first and foremost on the agenda.
Thank you, Mayor Rizzo. And Mr. Lanigan, same question. We had to, if we wanted to ask questions out of the audience, we wanted to write them on the card, and then I will ask them for you. Mr. Lanigan, what do you feel is the number one issue facing the citizens of Rome? This question coming from the 7th Ward.
Public safety is number one to me. It truly is. It's the biggest issue within a community. I'm not gonna go into it. My opponent touched on it quite a bit. I'm gonna go into the next issue that I feel our community is hurting with right now, and it's our neighborhoods. Rome has always been built on these small neighborhoods, and I really feel with walking the streets, I don't just drive them, I walk them. I've been in every part of this city, every alleyway, at every hour of the day. And our neighborhoods really feel like they're being left behind. And tearing down houses is not the answer. We need to come up with a better solution of working with developers, local developers, and getting these houses redeveloped if they're able to be brought back and put back on the tax rolls and sold to our moderate income people that are looking for homes, that can't afford a $300,000-$400,000 townhouse or a $300,000-$400,000 house on Park Drive, but they can afford a nicely remodeled home within our neighborhoods. And it brings back that little bit of pride that we all used to have in our neighborhood. And we really need to get back to that. And I truly feel that is another major issue within our community right now, that our neighborhoods are feeling that they're deteriorating and be left behind.
Thank you, Mr. Lanigan. Mayor Rizzo, do you have a rebuttal? Okay,
Yes.
go ahead.
We have returned $700,000 of rehabilitated property back to the tax rolls. So that's properties that were in neighborhoods where they were rehabilitated and brought back as homes. We have a demo program for a reason. A lot of our housing stock's 100 years old. When the house comes back, it's in complete disarray. As a result of that, though, we are opening up spaces for adjoining property owners where they can add on to their property. And many times, an adjoining property owner will buy that property, or we will create parking or a green space.
Thank you. Next question is from Georgette in Rome. What do you plan to do in fighting the drug problem in Rome, and where will you source the funding to accomplish this? Federally, state, or city taxes?
This is another problem that is not only here in Rome, New York, but it's statewide. This one is countrywide. With the amount of people coming over the border, they're bringing a lot of drugs. And unfortunately, they're making their way to every community. We're doing what we can now with our partners in the county, especially. The county is responsible for the public health and the mental health. So we rely on them and our agencies like Center for Family Life and Recovery, the Neighborhood Center, both of whom are down here, to bring groups of people in the community together. We have the Beacon Center down the street, which is also servicing people that have a drug addiction. It's not an easy issue. Our officers are working every day to take drugs off the street. As quickly as we get them off the street, we have more reappear. This is a nationwide problem that the United States has to come to grip with. Also, New York State has to come to grips with. There's no easy solution to this, and I can't tell you I've got a crystal ball that says, here's how we're going to get the drugs off the streets. We have to continue doing what we're doing, working with our agencies and taking their advice as far as what we can do with opioid addiction services and mental health services, which is why I recommended the council spend $300,000 of ARPA money to do mental health and addiction services through Center
Time.
for Family Life and Recovery.
Thank you, Mayor Izzo. Mr. Lanigan, go ahead. The question again is, what do you plan to do in fighting the drug problem in Rome, and where will you source the funding to accomplish this? Federal, state, or city taxes?
Drugs are a major problem. They've always been a major problem, not just in Rome, New York, but everywhere in the nation. We have always done a fantastic job in Rome of combating that. That was when I was in the patrol division. That was my forte. That's what I did every night with CIU. Is we attack these high crime, high nuisance drug areas within the city. The biggest problem right now is you're not talking about just your basic drugs anymore. A lot of these drugs are being laced with fentanyl. And fentanyl is an extremely dangerous drug at a very minimal amount. And the problem is people might think they're just buying a bag of weed and it's laced with fentanyl and they're overdosing. The major thing to me is education. We need to get to these kids early. And within the school, we used to have the DARE program, within the school, and educate these kids at a young age so that they're aware of how dangerous this could be, whether they get into marijuana or they get into any of the harder drugs, that they need to know what the risks are with this, because it's extremely dangerous, and these drug dealers out there these days, just, they don't care. And we need to do better with educating, and we need to continue with what we're doing on the streets. These guys are doing a great job trying to combat it, but they need more. They need more help doing it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lanigan. Rebuttal, Mayor Izzo? Okay, thank you very much. And this question comes from Anson Frocco. Why do we no longer have a police canine unit? Mr. Lanigan.
The police canine unit was eliminated by this current administration. We had two dogs in their prime, and the new marijuana laws came out, and the administration, along with the previous police chief, decided to retire out our right in their prime dogs. They had several years of service left in them. And I know it's a cost to the city. It's a minimal cost when you look at a $50 million budget. These dogs did so much more than just drug sniffing. If they could no longer do the drug sniffing, I was never a canine guy, so I don't know the particulars of it, but if they could no longer do the drug sniffing, these dogs, they did apprehensions, they did search if it was looking for a lost person. And they were also a great community asset. The kids loved them. These canine handlers did so many demonstrations voluntarily. They would go to these schools during the day on their own time. It's a great asset to this community, and we really need to bring it back. We do. It's a great asset. And to me, if I have to send somebody into a house with a barricaded subject, I'm going to rather send a dog than a police officer. And when you're talking about search, in law enforcement, seconds matter. Minutes matter. If you need to wait for a dog and call for 25, 30 minutes before that dog can get here, that's a long time in law enforcement. Your loved one could be out in the woods, and you're losing precious distance in that time.
Thank you, Mr. Lanigan. Mayor Izzo, same question. Why do we no longer have a police canine unit from Anson Frocco?
There are a few reasons. One is when the state legalized marijuana, our dogs were sensitized to marijuana. They could not be desensitized. Once they have that scent, they will have it forever. So if they were to do a search, say of a vehicle, and they found marijuana, or they found cocaine, but there was a spent marijuana roach there, that case would have been thrown out of court. The DAs made that very clear to us that would happen. The other reason is we were also looking at body cams at the same time. The canines were a $40,000 a year expense. The body cams are over an $80,000 a year expense. If we had dogs now that really couldn't search and do what we needed to do on the drug front because they could not be desensitized, there's only so many things that we can do here in this budget. It is $51 million, but it's all not $51 million just to the police department. So we had to weigh everything. But the biggest reason is because we could not desensitize the dogs. The chiefs were adamant, and in consultation with the DA, most police agencies now that did have dogs that were sensitized to marijuana have since given up their dogs because they can't get their cases heard in court if the dog is part of the search.
Thank you, Mayor Izzo. Mr. Lanigan, a rebuttal on the canines.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Those dogs could still be utilized in a search warrant. So on a street, if you pulled a car over, you wouldn't be able to run those dogs through there. But if you're doing a drug search warrant on a house, because you have that search warrant, you are entitled to that inside of that entire property. So if a dog was to go in there and hit on marijuana, but then also hit on cocaine, you would still be able to have that cocaine because you have that search warrant. So those dogs could very, very much still be utilized in the search of narcotics within our city.
Thank you, Mr. Lanigan. The next question comes from Joe Arbus. With the potential success of the city and the county's economic initiatives, the population of the area will increase. How do you plan on handling that scenario in a safe and equitable way? And Mayor Izzo, you'll go first.
That's a wonderful problem to have. I hope that that comes to fruition. We have a lot of room for growth here in the city of Rome. All of our facilities are built for around 55,000 population. We forget that when Griffiths was an active Air Force base, that's the number of people that lived here in the community. So we have a long way to go before we would really see huge issues with infrastructure or not having enough units for people to live in. But what we're doing right now is really servicing our future by expanding our water system, updating our wastewater systems, making updates to our water filtration plant. Those things, doing our bridges. We will do the Merrick Road Bridge, I believe, next year. We'll be doing Railroad Street. Almost all of our bridges will have been rehabilitated. We do roads every year. So we're already doing the things that would need to be done to handle more population. And then the biggest thing we're doing is we're already building the housing. We have the capacity to build here in Rome that other people don't because we have land mass. And we're using that to the best of our ability right now. And we're introducing new housing types. So I think on the whole, Rome is positioning itself very, very well to handle any huge increases or influx of population.
Thank you, Mayor Izzo. Mr. Lanigan, with the potential success of the city and county's economic initiatives, the population of our area will increase. How do you plan on handling that scenario in a safe and equitable way? From Joe Arbus of Rome.
As my opponent said, I truly hope that does happen. I hope our population does begin to increase. As we talked about earlier, New York and Oneida County has been on a decline over the last few years, so that would definitely be a good problem to have. Rome it's a large mass. It's 72 square miles. There's always room for expansion within here. We need to continue what we have been doing with working on our infrastructure and keeping that up to date so that when that growth does hit, we are prepared for it. We also need to look ahead. The city needs to come up with a new master plan. We haven't had a city master plan in 20 years. The last one, I believe, was 2003. We need to get together as a community and say, what do you guys want to see here? What do you want to bring here? And recreate this master plan, because that's the only way we're going to be able to prepare. The one in 2003 is utilized every single year for all this development you guys see. If you look back at the city master plan from 03, those plans are in there. Some have been cast to the side. They weren't able to be done, but a lot of them were in there. And that helps with grant funding, having that master plan. So we need to, day one, get into that office and start working on that, because that's what's going to help us to be prepared for that growth that we all hope is coming.
Thank you, Mr. Lanigan. Mayor Izzo, a rebuttal?
Yes. We're not having any problem with grant funding. We brought in over $70 million in grants because we already have those plans ready to go. In fact, one of the first things that our administration did was to recover an almost $800,000 planning grant for the waterfront area that the city had lost. So we are doing what we should be doing from the city's point of view, we've had many community engagements concerning those topics.
Thank you, Mayor Izzo. And the next question, this one comes from Daryl. Is Rome becoming a sanctuary city? And where will the migrants live? This one is Mr. Lanigan's going to go first.
I don't believe it's becoming a sanctuary city. I can promise you under my administration it would not become a sanctuary city. I would do everything to keep it that way. We need to work with refugees that are coming into the area, that are coming here legally, and we need to work with organizations that help those people. I met with the Refugees Center employees a couple weeks ago, and they just brought in their first family from the Ukraine and settled them here in Rome. Those are things that we need to do that are positive. As far as the illegals that may be coming here, we need to do a good job of vetting that and making sure they're not coming here illegal and they're not being dumped onto our community, that we can't sustain these people. We have enough people within our community that need help. We don't need to have other ones coming in here and dumped on us from these sanctuary cities downstate. We need to make sure that that doesn't happen here.
Thank you, Mr. Lanigan. Mayor Izzo, same question from Daryl. Is Rome becoming a sanctuary city? And where will the migrants live?
We have never been and never will be a sanctuary city. A sanctuary city means that you're going to accept anyone from anywhere. That does not happen here. The county executive has an order in place for the county that we will not accept migrants from the New York City area. There are no migrants living in Rome. We need to clear that up. We have people that are homeless. That is different from a migrant. We work with the center in Utica, which is where people come through in different statuses. Some are refugees, some are resettlement, which would be the Ukrainian people. They are considered resettled. And a resettled family has to have a $25,000 sponsor before they can even enter. So Utica has done a good job with building the Bosnians, the Russians, different populations, Croatians. We have looked at some of that in Rome, but the biggest impediment we have here in Rome in accepting those families that are coming in legally is we don't have the housing. You cannot bring families in unless they have a home. And so that's why we keep working with the center, and they're working with our landlords. When they decide they have housing, then we can get more involved in that. But again, these are legal refugees or resettlement, not migrants.
Thank you, Mayor Izzo. Mr. Lanigan, do you have a rebuttal to that?
No.
Okay, thank you. Kathy in Rome wants to know, small businesses help support smaller cities. How can we encourage more small businesses to open in Rome? Mayor Izzo, you can go first.
We've had a lot of small businesses open in Rome. It depends. I think most of the time people are talking about retail businesses. A small business is not just retail. My business was a small business, but it's not a retail business. If we're talking about retail, and I get this question all the time, why don't we have more clothing stores? One of the reasons is online shopping is changing that arena. But we have also engaged the New York State Retail Council. We regularly write and or call real estate agents that are representing retailers, showing them what could be in Rome, why we would fit their niche, where our population is. So we're always trying to entice them. But in the end, a business has to make a profit. They have to believe in an area, and they don't move in until they think they've got a population mass that continuously will bring them the income they're looking for. So it's not that we don't want them. One of the success stories will happen early next year when Hobby Lobby opens in the former JCPenney's. That's a $64,000 square foot store. That's a huge store. So things are happening here. They're just not happening in the clothing area.
Thank you so much, Mayor Izzo. Mr. Lanigan, small businesses help support smaller cities. How can we encourage more small businesses to open in Rome? From Kathy.
We need to do more with our small business community. As an administration, we need to work with them. We need to work with the chamber. We need to all come to the table and say, what can we do better for you guys to make things more profitable for the small businesses, to bring people in? How can we help you expand? If you're doing well, maybe we can help you find a larger space so you can bring that in. Maybe we can help find grant funding for you. Do all these things, but we need to get to the table with them. We need to form a coalition where everybody comes together and sits at the same table. And this small business might know something that this small business wasn't aware of. And now everybody's sitting there and we're sharing the information. Along with that, we need to do better as a community of promoting these small businesses, and we need to utilize them more often. If it's going to save you $10 to order it on Amazon compared to going down to the local store, maybe go down to the local store. Support small business. That's as a community, that's something that we can all do together. They used to have the shop Rome first. And that's what you should be doing is if you can go and purchase something locally, and maybe it costs you a couple bucks more because it's a brick and mortar store within our community, that small business is supporting a family. That small business is then going to take that and put gas in their tank at the local gas station. It's going to go and buy something at the local restaurant. It's everybody supporting everybody. So just as a community, we need to do better with supporting our small businesses.
Thank you, Mr. Lanigan. Any rebuttal?
I think that we do quite a bit. In fact, we partner with the Chamber. Chamber has a great program for networking. It's called Business After Hours. I attend almost all of those. I've attended them for 30 years. That's a great opportunity for a small business to show itself off and introduce itself into our community. We also work with other community partners. You talk about having committees. The Chamber's had a retail committee. So I think there's a lot of opportunities that the city engages. But in the end, no one ever came into my small business and said, here's a bundle of money, and you've got to do it yourself. We can help. There's facilitating, but you've got to.
Thank you very much. This one's from Sharon T. in West Rome. And Mr. Lanigan, you'll answer the question first. Do you have any plans on starting any kind of a youth program?
A youth program? We want to expand. That's one of our big things as an administration, is expand our parks, recreation, and community events. We need to bring more youth programs into the community. We need to do more things for the kids within this community. And not just summer programs I'm not talking about. I'm talking about having a working relationship with the school district, a working relationship with the YMCA to provide something for these kids to do after school that's going to keep them busy and off the streets. We are going to do everything in our power to expand those and bring more youth programming here. I think that goes hand in hand with the sports programs and helping enhance those sports programs and getting more kids out there. The Hockey Association started up a Learn to Skate program where they provide the equipment to the kids. So that cost is right out of people's pockets that they don't have to worry about just to get their kids on the ice and out there trying hockey. And if they want to move on and they don't have the funding for equipment, the parents always come together to provide equipment. So those are the things that we need to do for our youth. Work together, expand these programs, whether it's the sports, it's the youth programs in the community, but we need to do more for our youth, absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Lanigan. Mayor Izzo, same question. Do you have any plans on starting any kind of a youth program? This is Sharon T. from West Rome.
One of the first things that we did when we came in was to bring back the Stan Evans Basketball League. That had somehow gone by the wayside. We're always looking for opportunities to do more for our kids. We have programs, as I've said, year-round. In the wintertime, we have a lot of public skating at the arena. We have events that are centered around Christmas, Valentine's Day. We have youth hockey, and that is boys and girls. We have basketball leagues where we do partner with the school district. The district runs the leagues. We facilitate by helping with scheduling of officials and T-shirts and things where the kids need for uniforms. I think that this is a year-round challenge. It's easier, of course, in the summertime because our parks are open. We have lots of activities for them. But as a specific youth program, I'm not sure what the questioner wants there. We are going to partner with the Y. The Y will have drop-in spaces in the new Y for the youth, and that's important. That's why it is just so important for us to have this new Y built, because they are going to be a partner with us in a lot of these endeavors.
Thank you, Mayor Izzo. And Mr. Lanigan, do you have a rebuttal on this?
No.
Okay, thank you very much. The next question, I would like to know what each candidate's plans are on regarding the increasing crime in the city. And we can start with Mayor Izzo on that one. Again, I would like to know what each candidate's plans are regarding the increasing crime in the city. And I know that some of these this is a little redundant. We've talked about crime, but that is the question.
I'm going to repeat my answer that I've said. So we work on crime every day. The first thing we need to do, and we have done, we make sure that our officers are equipped with the latest and greatest in equipment and training. Our officers all have body cams now. That's helpful. We have more officers on the streets and in our neighborhoods. We're paying attention more as to where people are living, and if they move from place to place and they are a neighborhood nuisance, we're keeping track of that. We have directed patrols in certain areas when we're having issues. So there are a lot of different things that are happening in policing. All of them obviously cannot be discussed publicly with what the police are doing, but it's something that we pay attention to every single day. And I know that the chief and his administrative staff, from an operations standpoint, have other tools that they are using that are becoming effective in taking drugs off the street and also finding people with warrants and weapons that they should not have well before they're introduced into a bad situation.
Thank you, Mayor Izzo. And Mr. Lanigan, same question. And I apologize if this is redundant, but we did have a few of this similarly worded questions about the crime rate. So the question is, I would like to know what each candidate plans to do regarding the increasing crime in the city.
Crime is a problem. It's a major problem. It's our number one staple in our community is public safety. People aren't going to live here if it's unsafe. Economic development's not going to come here if it's unsafe. So it needs to be the number one priority of an administration is public safety. As I've stated before, my solution that is proactive policing. We need to be out there. We need to be actively on the streets, working those streets, and stopping these crimes before they happen, before they get to the courts. And another thing is crime and blight go hand in hand. And if our neighborhoods are falling apart and the broken window syndrome, you see one broken window, you're going to break another one. If that window wasn't broken, they might not have thrown a rock through that. We need to be stronger on our nuisance law. Our nuisance law hasn't been updated, I think, in 18 years. We need to bring it back to the table, work with the Common Council, and update some of these issues that we're currently having in the city. We need to be stronger on enforcing that nuisance law and get these problem houses vacated and boarded up and attack these absentee landlords and get those certificates of occupancy taken so that they're not renting these houses back out to the same people that we're having problems with and we're just moving them from one part to the other. We need to do a better job with that.
Thank you, Mr. Lanigan. Mayor Izzo, do you have a rebuttal?
Yes. Okay. I think it's a misnomer with the nuisance law. As you know, any domestic situation cannot be counted against a nuisance law, and many of these are domestics. As far as pulling someone's certificate of occupancy in a privately owned property, there are many, many New York State rules around doing that, and we have to follow the law when we do that. So there are zombie properties. We do take action as quickly as possible, and we are talking about solutions to try to get around that. We get people into court, but unfortunately the court, usually we give them more time, so it stretches out.
Thank you, Mayor Izzo. And the final question, Mr. Lanigan, you can go first. What are we doing for recruitment and retention for officers with the police department, attracting new hires and or lateral transfers?
We need to do more. My opponent said the other day that we're not having issues getting police officers, getting people to take our test. Why did they drag out the deadline to apply for our place? Because they had a limited amount of people that signed up for our test. We need to do a better job for our men and women in blue. We need to get them the personnel that they need. There is no reason why these guys should be mandated working overtime right now. The process to get a police officer on the street is about 9 months. If we're continually sending people to the academy, and that's how we're not planning ahead for retirements, we're not planning ahead for different things, it takes 9 months to get a police officer through the academy and on the street. We need to do a better job for them, whether it's incentives. If we need to start offering some incentives within the city to bring people here, we need to work on getting lateral transfers. There's still issues within the department that need to be resolved. The city just brought on 2 lateral transfers from Oneida County Sheriff's Office a couple months ago. They're both gone. I reached out to them. I met with one of them to find out why he left. It's funny that some of the same reasons, the same problems that were there when I was there are still there. And our time off, it's outdated. We need to come up with a better way. It's not always about money anymore. People used to come just because of the money. People, they value their time. They value their time with their families. We need to do a better job for the men and women.
Speaking of, sorry about that. Mayor Izzo, the same question. What are we doing for recruitment and retention for officers with the police department, attracting new hires and or lateral transfers?
We took a huge step this year in our collective bargaining agreement. We restructured all of the salaries, especially in the patrol. We restructured the 7 steps, so people are starting out at a higher salary, and we were more competitive with communities of like size as ours in population and in the number of people in the department. We were lagging behind a little bit, and immediately we did get some laterals. However, those laterals, a couple of them didn't pan out, and community policing is much different from being a deputy on the road. There's just a lot more activity here. I don't know if it was for them. For whatever reason, they went back to their agency. Every agency in our county and in the county surrounding us is having issues with recruitment. We don't have near the vacancies that the sheriff does or that the city of Syracuse might, but everybody's got vacancies. There are also injuries, and that accounts for people that are not on duty. So overtime will always be an issue, but we will always be granting overtime. We will never be short on the street. And as far as vacation, I think our contract is extremely generous with vacation time. I don't know of anyone that can even take all the time they have coming to them.
Thank you, Mayor Izzo. Mr. Lanigan, a rebuttal?
Just one question. Did you reach out to either one of those officers that transferred out?
Could we turn on?
I'll answer it for you. No, you didn't.
Okay, hold the applause there. Thank you very much to both of the candidates. At this time, that concludes the question and answer session from the public. It is now time for your closing statements. Mr. Lanigan, you will go first. Mayor Izzo, you will go second. 1 minute for your closing statements.
I just once again want to thank you guys so much for having us tonight. I want to thank everybody in attendance that came out to listen to us. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. What I want to say to you is I don't come from politics. I think that I'm giving you what people want now. I think there's a lot of evil in politics right now. I think people are tired of that. They're looking for somebody that's caring, that's compassionate, that's looking out for them, that's not in it for the what's in it for me mentality. And I think that's what you're going to get with me. I ask for your full support. I truly am doing this for the love of my community, for you guys, and I want to see the betterment for all of us together, not just certain groups, not just certain parts of the city, but I want to see us all grow together and everybody be successful in this community. So I'm asking for your support. Please vote for me on November 7th. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lanigan. And now Mayor Izzo, closing statements, 1 minute.
I think actions speak louder than words. Look around this city. We have never been in better shape. We have never had so much construction. We have never had such an influx of money here. We have $350 million worth of private sector contracts happening right now. That's construction all over our city. I haven't seen this much since I've been living here all my life. So that's a testament to what people think about Rome right now. It's not time to change the coach. This team is buzzing along, and we need to continue to finish what we've started. We've got multi-millions of dollars of projects underway. You don't just change the coach in the middle and think somebody else is going to assume that responsibility. I'm very proud of what we have accomplished here, and there's more work to be done. I want to be here to finish it, and I'll guarantee you one thing: I will never quit on you, and I ask for your support on November 7th.
Thank you very much, Mayor Izzo. And thank you all for coming out tonight. Thank you to the panelists, Kristen Scopa and also Ed Harris. Thank you, Mayor Izzo. Thank you, Mr. Lanigan, for being here tonight to field all of these questions. And without further ado, we would like to have a parting word from the League of Women Voters who put on this wonderful debate tonight.
Just wanted to thank everyone for coming, and want to thank the NAACP, the Rome branch, and also the Capitol Theater for hosting this debate. And you'll see some voter guides and so forth in the back on your way out for information on the election coming up. Thank you.